up everyone! So today's movie I'm discussing on the channel is the new film that's written and directed by James Gunn. It is of course the highly anticipated new DC Studios movie, Superman. I'm no Superman. This is sort of a relaunch of the Superman character, and this is like the new DC Studios universe that we're being introduced to. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Superman fan, but I was excited to see what James Gunn was going to do with the character, because I do like James Gunn's movies. I loved the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and I thought the Suicide Squad was a lot of fun. And I will say I definitely did have fun watching this new iteration of Superman. There is a lot that I like about it, but I do have some issues with it. But overall, I came out of the cinema having had a good time. But yeah, let's start off with the positives, because I really did enjoy the tone that James Gunn was bringing to this new iteration of Superman. Because for the best part of a decade, maybe more so, we've been given this really dark, gritty, broody Superman with what Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill were doing with the character, and that's fine, but I would say David Corenswet, he's the chap who plays Clark Kent and Superman in this movie, and what James Gunn do, they're bringing sort of back that sort of old school, hopeful, optimistic Superman, the one that you sort of associate with like Christopher Reeves and like, the 1970s Superman. And given everything that's going on in the world right now, this iteration of Superman very much feels like the Superman that we need, somebody that embodies the ideals of goodness and kindness, compassion, decency, doing the right thing. Also, I do want to give James Gunn credit for not rehashing the same story that we've seen done so many times before. He's kind of done what Mark Webb did with the Spider-Man franchise when he rebooted it with Tom Holland. He skips over the stuff we've seen already, gets the exposition out of the way, because we know all that stuff already, that Superman is an alien, his home planet of Krypton was destroyed, and he was sent as a baby in a pod to Earth, where he was raised by Kansas farmers, Martha and Jonathan. He becomes a journalist at the Daily Bugle, blah, 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 blah. We know all this stuff already, and we don't need to rehash what we have already seen before. So yeah, we skip all that backstory. The world is familiar with Superman and metahumans at large. Okay, it's become the norm. So yeah, props to James Gunn for not feeling the need to, show us the same story that we've seen like 5 times before. Let's get on with it. One of the best things about this movie for sure is the casting. David Corenswet as Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman, whatever you want to call him, okay? Talk about born to play this role. Okay, not only does he physically look the part, like the man looks like he was chiseled out of marble, but I absolutely adored what Corenswet brought to this role, because one of the things I often struggle with about enjoying the Superman movies is that Superman is this sort of like impervious, unstoppable, godlike figure, okay? He's got no flaws, like no one can defeat him, he's just great at everything, and because of all that, it kind of makes him kind of bland and boring, okay? The best characters are the ones that are complex, are messy, have flaws, imperfections. And yeah, what I loved about how David Corenswet plays him and also how James Gunn, frames him is that we really see Clark Kent, the human here, more so than this indestructible, godlike figure. Another thing the movie does really well is that it starts off with us showing Superman at his lowest. It's like 3 minutes or so after he loses his first ever battle, and he's like in the snow, battered, bruised, bleeding, like he's completely vulnerable. He's helpless to the point where he needs to summon his dog Crypto to come pick him up and take him back to safety. And because we're immediately introduced to him after he's been defeated, it shows him as more human than, super-powered alien creature. He's not just some perfect cardboard cutout of American idealism, okay? Like, there's actual complexities to him, okay? He does feel emotions in this. He gets frustrated at these systems that are in place, like the bureaucracy that holds him back from what's doing the obvious right thing for humanity, but he's getting told off, trying to help the world be a better place, and who wouldn't be mad at that? He even has his own identity crisis later in the film when he learns of a revelation about his biological parents from Krypton. And there's this lovely speech that his adopted dad, Jonathan, gives to him that says to him, it's not really about your lineage or where you come from, it's your choices and your actions which make you who you are. And it's so true. Corenswet's performance as Superman might be my favorite portrayal of the character, because he feels more relatable here than just this super-powered metahuman. He gives us a Clark Kent who is multifaceted, who's complex, who feels emotions. He's not just some idealistic, perfect symbol of goodness, because he's bringing so much humanity to the role, okay? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah, I will say, David Corenswet absolutely shines in this role. And I do want to mention some of the other performances in this, but one of my criticisms of this film is that it is overstuffed with so many like side characters. Because obviously we've got the three main characters, which are Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor, but then there's also this plethora of supporting characters which James Gunn tries to introduce and do a lot of world building, but there's so many characters in this because we've got, you know, the Daily Planet staff. There's at least 5 or 6 characters there that he's trying to set up. But yeah, out of the Daily Planet staff, I want to give a special mention to Skyler Gisondo, who played Jimmy Olsen. He's one of the journalists, and he was brilliant. He brought a lot of comic relief to this film. But yeah, we've also got Lex's lackeys. Some of them have their own superpowers, and then we've got his girlfriend Eve, and then we've also got, you know, Clark Kent's parents in Kansas, and we've also got the Justice Squad or gang, which is like Green Lantern, who's played by Nathan Fillion. You've got Hawk Girl, and also Mr. Terrific, who I actually thought was the scene-stealing performance of this film, played by Eddie Gathagi. Yeah, he was definitely the MVP of this film. He's like super serious, no nonsense, you know, comes and gets the job done, but yeah, very funny, very charismatic. He was fantastic. You've also got this character called Metamorpho and his little baby, and you've also got Crypto the dog as well. So yeah, because you've got all these characters, and because the screen time is being split so thinly between them all, the end result is that even like secondary characters like Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane or Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor feel like they're lacking a little bit in the characterization department. They both give great performances, but I just don't think they were given enough, because for the first 2/3 of this film, I wanted more of the Lex and Superman dynamic, the banter, you know, I wanted to know more history on those two. And it's just kind of not there. But I will say Nicholas Hoult in the last third, like when he's really shouting for the back row and really emoting, that's when he really won me over as Lex, okay? That was where I was like, oh, okay, this is why he got the role. And yeah, Rachel Brosnahan is good. She gives a very headstrong, sturdy performance as Lois Lane. But again, she's just kind of along for the ride for a lot of the movie, especially in the middle bit. She spends a lot of the movie looking for Superman, assisting Mr. Terrific in finding him. But there isn't actually all that much for her to do. And when she gets to fly the plane, it's just like brushed off as like, oh, don't worry, it's really easy to fly, it's intuitive, you'll just know what to do when you stick your hands on the handlebars. It's just like, okay, sure, yeah, why not? So yeah, a lot of conveniences in the plot. I will say, Brosnahan and Corenswet have amazing chemistry together, okay? There's one scene where they're in a kitchen and like, he lifts her up on the kitchen countertop when they're making out, and it's just getting very steamy. I was just like, is this gonna go from a PG-13 to an R-rated movie? But yeah, they hot. But yeah, because you've got so many characters in this competing for resources, with a screen time, it's actually quite short for a superhero movie. It's only just over 2 hours, this movie. Whilst that's a good thing, what you're left with is a film which is quite entertaining, but very frantic and chaotic. There's a revelation later in the film, I won't spoil it for you, but it's to do with like the reveal of a masked figure and who they are underneath. And when the reveal comes, it hit me with zero impact. I was just like, oh, okay, this is happening, I should care, yet I don't feel anything. Because this reveal felt like an afterthought. The film is also quite tonally jumbled in places, because it's clear that James Gunn was sort of aiming for a more cartoony comic book version of Superman. Like, you can see it in the characterization of the characters in this film, because a lot of them do feel quite cartoony, but James Gunn is also well known for injecting a lot of his brand of silliness and heart into his movies. And while I will say it does make this version of Superman feel more breezy and light, sometimes it does feel like it's at odds with itself, this film, because it's clear that James Gunn is also making commentary on what's going on in the world right now, okay? Like, there's stuff going on in this country called BeReal, and basically it's a stand-in for what's happening in Ukraine and Palestine. And yeah, so all that seriousness is often undercut by his very goofy sense of humor. So at times it does feel like the movie is quite uneven. I will say some of the editing in this was quite funny. Like, there were some very playful cuts in this which did make me laugh. Like, there's this one shot of a character dropping, a baddie from the sky, and just as about to hit the ground, it just cuts to a shot of an Alka-Seltzer tablet like plopping into a glass of water. That made me chuckle. The action scenes in this were pretty good. Like, nothing you haven't really seen done before in other like Superman movies, because there's like a lot of like skyscrapers falling over and Superman catching them. There's also a lot of characters flying around, a big CGI creature, nothing you haven't seen in other James Gunn movies like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 or the Suicide Squad. There's also one sequence involving Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific, where Lois Lane is just like, a passive spectator in this action sequence, like it's from her point of view, and there's a needle drop to Noah and the Whales 5 years' time, which is just very silly again, and yeah, that whole sequence was very James Gunn. I will say the visual effects in this film are a bit hit or miss, but honestly, that's something I've kind of come to expect with superhero movies and DC movies at large. There's a scene which is set in a pocket universe with like this cosmic river flowing through it, and you've got characters splashing around in like these pixelated cubes, and yeah, it just kind of leaves a lot to be desired. It's a bit of an assault on the eyes when you're watching it. Also, there are some VFX shots in this which look great, okay? Like when the buildings are falling over, that looked very convincing. And also, I was completely smitten watching Crypto the dog, okay? He's a completely CGI character, and I felt for him. I loved him. I was scared for him when, he was in danger, and like, there were times where he was very cute and playful, and I was just like, oh, stop it. If I'm emoting or caring for a CGI dog, okay, it's doing something right. So yeah, the VFX are a bit of a mixed bag, and some of you might be wondering, like, does the film have any Oscars chances? And I will say this film's best chance of being nominated for something would be for visual effects. I mean, James Gunn's previous movies have been nominated for Academy Awards for VFX. All three of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies did, but the Suicide Squad didn't get in. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to get any Oscar nominations, this film, but if you guys do think it has some chances, let me know in the comment section down below. Anywho, shall we ask them 3 questions? Firstly, would I watch it again? Yeah, I absolutely would watch this again. I will admit, I did have some issues with this film. I did find it a bit messy, but I still had a good time watching this film. The good stuff definitely outweighed the bad stuff, so yeah, I would watch this again. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? I would say yes, because this film is definitely a lot of fun to watch at the cinema, okay? It is a big screen movie. It's also just a very watchable, fun, summary blockbuster. The movie's not going to change your life, but it'll provide a nice 2-hour distraction. So yeah, I'm going to recommend this one. Catch it in the cinemas whilst you can. And third question, what's got to give it out of 10? James Gunn's Superman is a refreshing change of pace for the superhero genre, okay? It's very sincere and hopeful. It's a little overstuffed with too many ideas and characters, but its heart is definitely in the right place. And I did have a good time watching it, so I'm gonna give Superman a score of 6.5 out of 10, but as always guys, just one bloke's opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on James Gunn's Superman. Where does it rank for you in all the Superman movies that we've seen? Whatever you have to say, let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. Enjoyed the vid, help me out by hitting that thumbs up button for me. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click that subscribe button. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Harefield, and I'll see you in the next vid. Bye!